What's going on, guys? It's Brad with Trading OTCs, and I have a special guest tonight. As most of you know, on Monday nights we have discussion. I've just started this podcast about talking with millionaires and providing inspiration to all of you, and getting you to, um, I guess, realize that achieving a millionaire status is not out of the realm of possibility for anyone, and it just the whole point of the show is bringing ideas and strategies and thoughts on how to accomplish that, because there's several ways to do it. And I'll go ahead introduce him tonight. I have Peter Saddington. He is uh, mostly known for being the first person in the world to buy a Lamborghini with Bitcoin. But he has a whole other side to the story that has brought him success, and that's kind of what I wanted to focus on tonight. And so I'll go ahead and give it away to Peter. Peter, how are you doing tonight?
Very good, very good. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk with you and dialogue with you, and hopefully be at least a little bit encouraging and a little bit inspirational. It's been a great time in crypto. It's a great time to actually, frankly, to be alive. And you would know this. You're jumping off the cliff yourself. So we had talked just previously before you started this stream about putting in your notice. So I applaud you. Because that is a risk into itself, right? There's so many unknowns that you're going to be coming up against, but it's an exciting time as well. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, and thank you. And it's one of those things that I was telling you earlier that I'm super excited about and super nervous about. I think that there's something to be said, like to at least have some kind of anxiety. It would be probably a little bit scary if I didn't have that anxiety and just was 100%. Yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? But I'm excited. I think that if I didn't just take the leap now, I might never do it. And I'm just excited for what the future holds for my team. And I'm again excited to have you on board tonight. So let's start from I guess the beginning. Bitcoin's what you're known for. But there's a whole other side to the story. So I was reading up on you, and you have 3 master's degrees. Is that right?
That's right. Absolutely.
That's I do. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah. So I have a genetic disorder, and the genetic disorder is that I can't turn off. And once I get focused in on anything, I drive it all the way to the very bloody end. And I went through this educational shtick of sorts. Maybe, some people would call it the Asian in me, but I didn't get a PhD. So apparently I'm not that smart, but I ended up getting 3 master's degrees. I got a master's in counseling and organizational behavior, a master's in education and cognitive learning theory, and a master's in divinity, focusing on apologetics and world religion. And so for me, I really wanted to understand how do people operate? How do people work? How do people work from a cultural standpoint? How do people work from a cognitive standpoint? How do people learn? And in the final master's, the master's divinity, was kind of to round it out. How does worldview and how does faith create different unique behavior patterns given the cultural and ethnic considerations of who they are? And so this helped me as a consultant. So most people don't see me as a consultant. Most people don't realize that that's pretty much what I've been doing my entire world. So entire life before really becoming, quote, famous for crypto. But I'm a consultant for the largest Fortune companies in the world. And so I travel around the world. I speak at the largest software development conferences. I've written 2 books. The last one was published in 2012. It's called The Agile Pocket Guide. As a top 100 Amazon list for leadership and executives. And so I help people, I help companies and organizations improve their speed to delivery. I help them use startup technology, lean startup ideas to develop products faster and to have a better culture while they do it. And so this moving into crypto was really kind of a lucky break of sorts. And so what I'm best known for in the world right now is this lucky break, but I've actually been working my ass off for a long time. So it's one of those things where you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah, I mean, and I think a lot of people, especially associate with a millionaire status with like, oh well, they got lucky or whatever. But you are somebody who, like you said, you can never turn it off. But there's something to be said for that. Like, you're constantly grinding, you're constantly, going for it. And there's a little bit of luck in there, obviously, especially with the whole Bitcoin thing. I mean, you bought it in at a couple dollars, and how did you know it was going to do what it did back when you actually bought it? But, there's that failure part in there, and how you grow from failure. And I kind of wanted you to touch a little bit on that, because as we kind of discussed a little bit, that you've started 13 companies, and only 2 of them essentially actually made it. But that's actually good,
Yeah.
and people are like, oh my God, like you had 11 companies that failed. But like, that's the norm. And the average company only makes it, or it fails within the first 5 years of it starting. And which is here I am, scaring my own self at this point. But but still, like, if you don't go for it, you never know if you're going to make it or not, right?
And that really is kind of the emergent properties of life. One of the emergent properties of life is you have no idea what you're capable of, what you're able to manage, what your capacity is, what your energy levels are, where your innovation, where your constraints are. You just don't know about yourself until you put yourself in a position where you are required to do all the work. And that's really what a startup is all about, is you wear a multiplicity of hats. You have to do everything from product development to product visioneering to sales to marketing to customer support to maintenance. I mean, you have to be everything. Them focusing on product side, startups can have just service. But I mean, I find that startups, and I remember talking with a friend about this years ago, and the metaphor I was using is that startups really are a pressure cooker of understanding who you are the fastest. You want to know one of the best ways to never understand what you're capable of? Have a 9-to-5 job for 40 years. You will never understand what you're made of. You'll never understand where your limitations are. You'll never understand what the potential that you have and the possibilities that you have at a 9-to-5 job. Let's just be intellectually honest. But a startup is a pressure cooker for revealing thyself. It's like, I'm jumping in this. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm going to try to do everything I can with excellence, whatever that means. And then you learn so quickly that you're not good at this, or you're great at this, or you're terrible at that, or you just hate doing this. You learn so much about who you are, and what that allows you to do is refine your approach. And so when people look at me, if you go to my LinkedIn, one of the first things you see on my LinkedIn is that I fail. I just make it clear to everyone that's connected with me is that I love failing. It's part of self-discovery. It's part of who I am. And throughout that failure has been the ability to fine tune and understand that this is who I am. These are the 2, maybe even 1, but these are the 2 or 1 things that I am exceptional at. And if I continue to focus on that and find a great service or a product to run underneath that passion, those natural inclinations, those natural skill sets, I will fare a far better chance of success than in the beginning periods of creating startups when I knew nothing about myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. But man, like, I just gotta tell you that I'm like super pumped. Like, that was like a motivational speech right there. Like, now it's like, I don't know. Just makes me want to go do something.
Well, so there's a great, and I'm glad. I really am. There's a great quote. I don't know where it's from. It's something kind of there's a lot of great quotes and I'm probably try to push them all out today for your audience so you guys can write these down.
I have too. So yeah, go ahead.
But there's a great one that goes, you cannot have pleasure without skill. You cannot have pleasure without skill. And skill is not a talent. Skill is something you earn. Right? Talents are given to you naturally. They're your natural inclinations. They're your natural strengths. But there is no pleasure without skill. And to do anything well, if you want to be the best tennis player in the world, you want to be the best baseball player, you want to be the best celloist in the world, you want to be the best, entrepreneur in the world, you want to be the best software developer, you have to put your axe to the grind and grow that skill, grow that skill set. And hopefully, if you're lucky, it's naturally in tune with your natural talents. And so if you can match your natural talents with skills that are worth, grinding on, then you will have a double-edged sword of potential. And that's how I always look at that. You cannot have pleasure without skill. And so that's something that has always been on my heart and my mind as I grind and as I work through my startups. It's like, am I continuing to grow the strengths? Am I continuing to grow my skills in this area so that I can be even more exceptional on the long tail?
Yeah, and that's awesome. And I actually shared one with my folks last week that somebody shared with me, and it kind of ties into maybe not sticking to the 9 to 5, and to your point of just going for it and finding out who you actually are. And the quote was, and somebody actually said who it was, but I have to go back and look, but the reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable one persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man. And I just thought that was amazing.
And I think he ended with, "I am an unreasonable man." I think that was the end of the quote.
Yeah.
And I it's on the tip of my tongue. I know I saw that quote. I know
somebody will share it.
Yeah, someone will tell us later. Someone will tell us later. It's absolutely true. And if I could speak to one nuance that kind of came into my heart as you were talking about you jumping off the cliff of sorts, is that failure is part and parcel of innovation. Failure is part and parcel of self-discovery. And I will tell you this, and you're not there just yet. Maybe you are. But I have found that the most anxiety that I have ever had with starting a brand new venture, starting a brand new business, is not the fact that I'm going to fail. It's almost a guaranteed fact that I'm going to fail at some facet of delivery of this product or service that I'm trying to create. The most anxiety that I have is constantly telling my surrounding periphery, my friends, my family, my colleagues, my coworkers, the world, that I'm doing this. And the worst part about that is I have told them year after year after year, and I've constantly failed. And they said, "What happened to that startup last year? You were really hot about it. You told us all about it. What's going on?" "Well, we lost $2 million and we closed it down. But I'm starting again."
Yeah.
But I want to sit on that for just a second, because I think it's so important that not only is it I'm over it now because everyone knows that it's just part of my MO, but I would encourage you to spread yourself absolutely out to everyone as you embark on this new life journey. Is it going to be embarrassing? Maybe. Are your grandparents going to be embarrassed for you? Probably. Are your parents? I didn't get a PhD, so my in-laws think I'm not intelligent because their daughter should have married a doctor, because I didn't end up being a doctor.
Oh, that's hilarious.
You're going to disappoint tons of people. But what I find fascinating is that every time I start a new venture, I'm like, "Guys, put down on blast. We're trying something new." They're always like, "Peter, I've heard that 1,000 times from you before, but you know what? I know a guy that's doing that already, and I want to connect you with them." And so that has been the value add that I've found, past the anxiety, past the embarrassment of failure, but using your network. And we were talking about this before we started the stream, but using that network for the good and the bad. I find that the good outweighs the bad, and they're more empathetic and sympathetic when you do fail. And they're like, "You know what? Good try. Yeah. But it's one of those things that I don't know if you're there yet, but I would encourage you in this current stage and where you're moving to, put it out on blast. Let everybody know. Yep. Shout it from the rooftops. It's anxiety ridden, but trust me, brother, you'll be better for it.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. I was slow to do that because obviously there's always that fear of failure, and then like telling people, "Oh yeah, it didn't work out," but I'm slowly starting to branch out on that, and starting to tell more people about it. And as I'm getting closer to the end of my 9 to 5 career, I'm finding myself being more excited about it and being able to tell a lot more people about it. But and even just as starting a YouTube channel, if you asked me a year ago that I would have 5,500 subscribers and I would be quitting my job and everything else, I'd tell you you're insane. And maybe I am insane. Maybe we're both crazy, but yeah, there's something to be said.
You're an unreasonable man.
Exactly. That's a good point. Which, by the way, somebody said it was George Bernard Shaw. So
George Bernard Shaw. There you go.
Somebody would chime in on that. But yeah, no, I appreciate the kind words, man. And to your point about networking, it's so funny. When I was just starting going back to school, I'm in my last semester here. I got about 5 weeks to go. But when I'm first starting out, I was in some kind of leadership class, and we were talking about networking. And my teacher, he was one of the best instructors I had, and talking about networking. And I said, yeah, networking. It's 99% of it is I know a guy, and he actually like wrote the quote, and then just put B Smith on there. Which I just thought was hilarious. I even took a picture of it. I still got it somewhere around here, but it's true. 99% of it is just I know a guy, and you really can't get anywhere by yourself anymore. And actually, that kind of like applies to the style of trading that we do, and why we have such a awesome close knit team of traders. It's like especially and if people who don't know this, Peter is actually used to trade OTCs and pink sheets back in the day.
That's right.
And
tried my hand at it, wasn't very good at it.
Yeah. Well, we're trying to change that. I think a lot of us have found a lot of success in it, but a lot of it, the basis of especially pink sheets and OTCs is the networking, because there's so many of them. They're tiny that don't really get a whole lot of news, and so there's all these people out there finding their own due diligence on these companies, and they bring them back to the team and be like, hey, check this out. What do you guys think about this? What's the share structure like? Well, are they in debt? Blah, blah, blah. So like, it's funny how all that comes full circle, especially when it comes to networking, and just how it is literally everything.
The more that you expand your network, the more that you have opportunities the more opportunities emerge and avail themselves to you. And so, it's just the power of that network effect cannot be underplayed. And so I say, no matter what you're doing, good or bad, this is kind of this kind of a startup idea that I had in my early years. Is it a good idea or is it a bad idea? It doesn't really matter if it's a good idea or it's a bad idea. All I know is I need to do it. And so regardless if it's a good idea or it's a bad idea, let people know that you're doing it. And you might find people that will come right beside you and help you. You might find some people who say, you know what, I'm not into that, but I know a guy. And so shout it from the rooftops, man. Shout it from the rooftops. And I think you're doing a great job.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. So yeah, guys, go ahead and just shout out some questions too, by the way. I know that I got like almost 100 people watching, and there's no questions, but like, it's so funny. And this happens every podcast so far, is that like, I have to like literally tell them, because I think they're so sucked into what we're talking about. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot. I can actually
engage.
Yeah, exactly. So ask away, guys. So I guess, one of the questions is, how was it that you knew that this entrepreneurial lifestyle was for you? You obviously got all these degrees for a reason. So what was that turning point for you, as far as like, I can't live in the corporate world?
Well, my first corporate job, I worked for Johnson & Johnson as a developer at 15 years old. Now, most everyone else was in high school in 9th grade or 10th grade at 15 years old.
Holy crap. That's crazy, man.
But I was writing code. I was writing code after school for a Fortune 50 company in J&J Vistacon in Jacksonville, Florida, every day. And so for me, I always wanted to work. I always wanted to build stuff. I was the guy in the early days of the internet that was rocking out on BBS, Telnet, mail bombing people on Telnet, hacking BBS. Like, that was me. My first computer I got was a 386. I deleted the D drive, and then my father told me, fix it. It's like, I don't know. How do I fix this thing? I mean, this is back in the day of floppy drives. I remember I was living in Japan at the time, and I remember calling my uncle Walt, and I was like, I deleted the D drive. Now, if you guys know, the D drive is the CD-ROM drive that I needed to play Civilization 1 on. I needed to play that thing. And so, like,
I remember the Oregon Trail days too, all that.
Oh yeah. It's so no. That the D drive was on the Pentium 1. But anyway, regardless, I remember I remember calling my uncle Walt, and I say, I need to reinstall this thing. And he sent me 16 floppy disks with SCSI drivers to replace and fix and update it. So I've always been breaking stuff. I've always been building stuff. And for me, I got a lucky break. It was a network. It was a network thing that at 15 years old, I worked for J&J. For 15, 16, I worked all the way up into college. And so by the time I exited college, I finished my undergrad in 2.5 years at Florida State. I got a computer science degree. I was doing 24 credits a semester, back to back to back to back, because I didn't want to be in school. And I just wanted to work. And so by the time I had exited university, I already had 5 years of corporate experience under my belt, while the rest of my peers were just getting into their junior year of college.
Wow, that's crazy.
So for me, it was all about how can I build stuff? How can I create what I want to create on my free time? I remember in the mid 90s, I was messing with Macromedia Flash. If you remember that, Shockwave, and
oh yeah,
and do you remember all those fancy introductions to websites that you couldn't skip and you had to watch for 30 seconds? That was before advertising. We had Flash advertising before real advertising. And so I was building that stuff. And so for me, it was more of, I'd say, a genetic consideration, but it really is a genetic disposition for me that I always wanted to create, build for myself. And working for the man, after working as an intern over 5 years, 5.5 years with J&J, I learned enough about corporate America that I knew that working in corporate America just wasn't for me. And so, I remember having a moment when I was working with my brother, and we had a project that was just released, and there wasn't really anything to do. And I remember we were like, you know what? Do you want to go watch a movie? We watched a 2.5-hour movie on the company's dime. I mean, that's when I'm like, this is our lunch break was 2.5 hours. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, okay? Yeah.
I mean, when you're young, you're guilty of these types of
of course
cutting corners. I'm not saying anything that anyone else hasn't done here, but I mean, I remember that so distinctly. It was a moment of like, why the hell would I put myself in this position ad infinitum till the day I die? And I think that was really a turning point and say, hey, after I graduate from university, I really need to start building for myself. And that's what I did. Once I finished university, I flew immediately to Korea, my home, my birth home, whatever, born in Busan, South Korea. So I flew immediately to Korea after university and immediately found that building startups in Korea didn't work. So I ended up working for Samsung. And helping them build their iRiver, which was the competitor to the iPod at the time, and then realized that I really need to come back to America to really build startups. So I came back to America, long story short, came to Atlanta, and I've been here ever since. So
awesome. That's quite a story. And actually, to kind of segue into that, is a perfect question. So once you finally realized that startups were for you, Neil asks, what was your first startup?
Great question. My first startup, as you could probably imagine, was a web design company building Macromedia Flash introductions, Macromedia Flash applications, Shockwave, using, we were also using, was ActionScript for Flash, was the coding language back then. And so my coding languages of choice, Java, C#, Java, C#, and COBOL. So I know COBOL and obviously HTML, JavaScript. So that was my first startup, and I continued to build that out until I started building actual real products and moving away from consulting.
Okay, awesome. And so I guess we don't have to go through all the ones that didn't work out. Well, so let's start off with the ones that did. So you got 2 of them that really took off and were successful for you. And I looked at the one, what was it? The car related one, right? I'm so sorry that I didn't.
VINwiki.
Yes, VINwiki. Thank you. So tell us about that a little bit.
So VINwiki, if you can check it out, it's vinwiki.com. VINwiki is an automotive reporting history system. As you can probably guys imagine, I love automobiles, and being successful has availed me the opportunity to invest in lots of these. And so this was not my first Lamborghini. This was just the Bitcoin Lamborghini. And so for me, we wanted to create a better system than Carfax. If you're any type of car guy, you know that Carfax data is crap.
It is crap, yes.
Bad. It's outdated. It's pulled from centralized servers that aren't updated in a timely manner. And so, for someone who flips exotic cars, really matters that the real history, the real true vehicle history, is true. And so we decided to create a wiki style where you could input information on a car that you own, so that you are creating the true life cycle, the real history of your car. When you get an oil change, you can take a picture, add it to the car's timeline. You get a scratch, you take a picture, say, hey, tis but a scratch. Not a big deal. I put some white out on it, and it worked out fine. And so you can update the information on your car history yourself. And the hypothesis when we created it was that if we could allow people to create their own car history, the real true vehicle history, then the hypothesis is that you could sell it for anywhere between $500 to $1,500 more above Kelley Blue Book, because you have a validated, picture-driven, data-driven system that says, hey, this is the true history of this car. It's been well maintained. It's been well taken care of. And so that's what VINwiki is. It's a automotive vehicle history reporting system that is user-generated. And so we're growing like gangbusters. I think we're growing by about 700 or 800 people a day. And so that's pretty good for a small app.
That is pretty good. Actually, I actually did download it the other day and checked it out. And it's actually cool because, like I back in the day, I used to work on cars. I worked on cars for about 6 or 7 years. That was my thing. I was, a technician, and, so I always did all my own work. So how would anybody know that the maintenance was properly kept on it if I'm doing my own work and like not taking it?
Actually, that's one of our best users. Our best users within the VINwiki app are independent operators, mechanics, vinyl wrappers, people who do, car washes, because they can show that, hey, I've touched this car, I fixed this car, I did this, here's my portfolio of work. So an emergent use case that we didn't think about after launching the app is that mechanics love it the most, because they can say, hey, instead of creating my own portfolio somewhere else, I can just use VINwiki. And if you check under my profile, you can see every car that I've worked on and what I've improved. And so that can be their quote unquote resume. And we actually had a guy, true story, who moved from Audi Group, and he just moved to Ferrari Group because of VINwiki. So he was able to show them, hey, I've worked on Audi R8s, I've worked on Ferraris, I've worked on Lamborghinis. Here's my work. And they were like, wow, we can see what you've done. It's better than just assuming that you know. And so it was kind of a great validator that the application has a lot of value in a multiplicity of different ways.
Yeah, that's really cool. And just from coming from a car guy, as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, this is really awesome.
Thank you.
I think it's a really great idea, and I wish you the best on that. I think you're really onto something. And you're right. Like, Carfax is just terrible. Whenever they advertise Carfaxes, I'm like, so what? You know what I mean? Like, you just can't. There's nothing. I mean, you have a small snapshot of the car's history, and it really doesn't tell the whole story. But to that note, what is, I mean, I know you have the Lambo in the background there. So what's your favorite supercar that you've either had or maybe you want to have in the future?
My favorite supercar is an Audi R8, period. So I've gone through several Lamborghinis, a Lamborghini Gallardo, a Lamborghini Huracan, a couple of those. I've gone through a couple Audi R8s, the first generation, 2 of the first generation, none of the second generation. But I love Porsches, gone through a couple of those. But the Audi R8s are the best. And the reason is, for a car guy, I think you can resonate with this, is that the Audi R8 has all the creature comforts of Audi Group. It has magnetic ride, it has Quattro, it has all the nice aesthetics of an Audi, but it's got a V10 Lamborghini naturally aspirated engine behind it. And right. The Audi R8s actually come off the same line in Germany as the Lamborghini Huracans. So what's nice is that you have all the creature comforts and all the aesthetics of Audi, but at the same time you have that raw kind of visceral experience of a naturally aspirated V10 behind your head. And so for me, period, the Audi R8, get the manual gated shifter, because it's actually one of the last cars on the planet that will offer a manual gated shifter. And according to Jalopnik, the Audi R8 V10 with a manual gated shifter will be one of the most highly prized supercars in the future, because no one makes manual gated shifters naturally aspirated. Everything's going to turbos, right?
It already is. I mean, have you seen a Ferrari 512 with the manually gated shifter? I mean, they're going for $500,000 when they started out at 200. It's just crazy. And for me, and that's the other thing for like these supercar companies. It's like people drove cars and they drove manuals because they loved driving. And that's why I drive, like I haven't had anything other than a manual since I started driving pretty much. And it's because I love to drive.
Mm.
And you're taking that away. Of course, you know, the flabby paddle gearbox and all that stuff shifts way faster than you ever will, but I don't care.
Nope, don't care.
You
I'm
know,
I'm all about driver involvement, driver experience. I go to
thank you.
I go to the tracks. I want to know, because I'm an engineer, so you resonate with this.
Yeah.
If I do tuning, if I lower it, right, this car right now is lowered 1.24 in the front and 0.74 in the back, right? Even those small incremental tweaks, as an experienced driver, you know, it changes fundamentally the way that the handling and the driver experience. And so for me as an engineer, I love being able to go to a track and say, you know what, I just changed the camber, or, you know, I just dynoed it, or I just put on a new exhaust and it's supposed to give me, you know, 22 pounds more, whatever. Or, you know, these small things to drivers, it is invaluable, because it tells us that our work is actually working. Yeah. And so for me, I love that aesthetic. So my Audi R8, my track car, I've spent 60 grand on that thing. I got so much on it, but it drives. I was telling a friend, I have a friend that his name is Matt, and we're both Lamborghini owners, and he was modifying his car, and he said, Peter, you modify to the nth degree. You invalidate the warranty like the moment you buy it. You know, and he said, when is enough? And I told him, I said, I can give you the answer. I have the answer. There's a lot of things I don't have the answer for, but I have the answer for this. If you're into modifying cars, if you're into, you know, tuning cars, you need to tune that car to the point when you get on a beautiful, you know, Saturday at 6:30 p.m. sun is out, you know, got 2 hours till the sun goes down. When you drive that and you've tuned it and it just feels perfect, that is when you know you're done, right? And so until you hit that moment, you probably need to tweak something else. Right? Yeah, there's something missing. Yeah, so I that's the best way of it. You get it though, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. Any car guy would get it. I think I have like I have that part about me, but then I also have something like a respect for like the older cars. Like I used to have a 1981 Firebird that I built from the ground up.
There you go.
And you know, and there was something about just cruising in that, even though it was a little rickety and a little old, and you know, wasn't the finest that today's engineering could offer. There was still something about that rawness, and just being able to cruise, and that like I felt like I was back, you know, in the early 80s with my 8-track tape and everything else. So like, but then on the flip side of that, you know, I would love to have a GTR, or the F12 is probably what my dream car is. And so like there's both sides of that coin that I think, you know, anybody can have an appreciation for.
Absolutely. I think there's value in having something that's completely imperfect. And when it comes to a car, yeah, right, it's just yours, right? My first car was an 86 Chevy Celebrity, gunmetal gray. I mean, it had the bench seat, you know, when I move up, everyone else moves up. You know what I'm talking about? It had the flappy like rug roof, so that it started pulling down, and when you drove with the windows down, it'd be like,
oh yeah. There's so many of them that were like that back then.
But see, that I wish I hadn't gotten rid of it. It's so lame for me to say, but man, I'll tell you, I have so many memories from that 86 Chevy. I remember we were out, I could go on forever, but I remember one time we were out with my friends, Jacob and Dinesh, and we were out on the extended parking area of our high school. So you have extended areas of your high school where you can park. And this was offshoot of the baseball field. And there was a stump at the end of this baseball field. And it's an 86 Chevy. I'm maybe a junior, sophomore in high school. I don't remember. But I remember I was talking with Dinesh, and I was like, you know what? You think this thing can jump that stump? He was like, oh, I don't know. Let's fucking do it. And so I'm in this thing. He's in there. We're strapping in. My buddy's in the back, and we just nail it. And I mean, this thing has the miles per hour gauge cluster that goes up to 85. But I promise you, I hit 90. And we hit that stump. I mean, the wheels bottom out, so you hear this big boom, right? And oh my gosh, we probably should have died because we almost rolled the car. But anyway. Memories, memories. I could go on.
Hey, everybody has a story about their first car. Mine was a '88 Taurus, so it was like the RoboCop car. But it was legit because it was 1988 and it still had power seat adjustment, which I thought was like the craziest thing for a 1988 car.
That is very good for 88.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, back to some questions here. And I guess we'll go back to somebody has a Bitcoin question. So let's see here. Somebody, I think it's the big elephant in the room when it comes to crypto at this point. What do you think about Bitcoin now, especially since it's kind of dropped dropped a lot? And are you still trading stocks as well, or is it all crypto?
That's a great question. When I went full bore into cryptocurrency, I went full bore. I remember having a conversation with my broker or my money manager, let's put it that way. And I remember calling him and I said, you know what? I need to liquidate all my assets, Roth, traditional, mutual, I need to liquidate it all. And he's been with me for a long time. He's managed my money for a long time. So he was like, oh, Peter, is there a problem? Is there a family issue? Did you just have a family emergency? Do you need to liquidate for? And I was like, no, I need you to liquidate all my assets so I can go into cryptocurrency. And I remember this long pause on the phone. And
I can imagine.
Because and so he had the long pause on the phone and he's like, what's cryptocurrency? And
oh my God, that's hilarious.
And I was like, bro, if I need to explain this to you at this particular moment in time, it's going to be a waste of time. And then he, went into tax implications. He's like, you're going to lose all this tax implication, pulling out your Roth traditional. You're going to be flayed alive. And I was like, I have made more in the last week than I have made over the last 10 years investing in all these other traditional investment vehicles. And so I trust me, it's not investment advice, guys. Don't do what I did. But I just went full bore and I poured everything into crypto after I had realized that the technology, and I think that's the kind of more salient point of this conversation here, is that I saw the value in the technology. And for me, I invest in cryptocurrency for the tech, not necessarily the price action. And so if the question is, what do you think about Bitcoin? It ain't going away, guys. Bitcoin ain't going away. When Tim Berners-Lee came out with the internet in 1993, the first 3 years, people were saying, what is the internet? What are you going to use with it? People only murderers and bad people are going to do stuff with this. And then suddenly we had our first applications of the internet. We had email. We had messaging. Then we had websites. Remember GeoCities, Lycos, right?
And then AIM, and oh my God.
And we had AOL. And then we had e-commerce. After e-commerce, we had scaled systems. Then in the early 2000s, we had SaaS, software as a service. Then we had modularization of code. And then we had expansion of protocol networks. And so Bitcoin is a protocol like the internet is a protocol. And I think one of the strongest arguments for the longevity and sustainability of Bitcoin is that because it's a protocol like the internet, it can't be shut off. And so now that it's been unleashed into the world, now Bitcoin's been unleashed into the world, that's what I'm investing in, is that the technology of Bitcoin, the protocol behind it, the blockchain immutable ledger, that is the future. Everything's is moving to decentralization. I see it every day. And so for me, my confidence is in the tech, not the application of the tech or the price action of the tech. And so that's why when people say, hey, it's gone down, it's like, tis but a scratch. Tis but a scratch. I've been through this before. You should have talked with me from November of 2013, because I remember it vividly. November 2013 to February of 2015. That's when you should have talked to me, because that's when Bitcoin lost 90% of its value over 460 days. And so, I mean, losing 50% of its value from 19 grand to 10, tis but a scratch, guys. Tis but a scratch. Wait till it hits 90% of its loss in value. Then my hands might get a little bit more weak.
Yeah, I mean, we have that same type of principle when it comes to, trading OTCs, as I'm sure you're probably aware of, trading them before. It's like, people are used to trading like bigger board stocks where, they'll see fluctuations of maybe, 3%, maybe even 10%. And even if it goes down 10%, people are losing their minds. But like with pink sheets, it's like, if it drops 30%, whatever, it'll be back in 20 minutes. That's just how it works. It's the
Yeah.
volatility. And that's what I love about it, which, and you're kind of speaking my language when it comes to crypto, because it's just as volatile, if not more. And so, yeah, it's just funny how like we were talking earlier about, the parallels between the two. It's very interesting. I
Well,
find.
like I was telling you, I mean, starting with penny stocks, right? That's where I started. It was a perfect migration from penny stocks into crypto, because in penny stocks, not only did I learn very quickly that I could lose my shirt immediately, but another thing, as I told you, that I learned about penny stocks is that owning 200,000 shares doesn't mean a whole lot. So
Right.
the parallels in crypto, it's basically the same thing, guys. It's basically the same thing.
Right. So, okay, cool. So let me see if there's any other questions here. Oh, somebody said my first car was a 1981 Ford Pinto. Oh, yeah, the station wagon at that.
The
Couldn't get it over 50.
Schockenwagen.
Yeah, man. My buddy's first car was a Ford Festiva, if you remember those. It was
Yeah.
1991. Oh my gosh, it was like a clown car.
Hey, but you had the best memories in it, though.
Yeah, no, true that. I actually learned how to drive stick in that stupid thing.
I learned how to drive stick in my friend's Sentra. And I realized after the burning smell that I had the parking brake up the entire time, which is why I could connect with the clutch so easily. I was like, wow, this is driving stick it easy. It never moves. And then when I got to school, I was like, why is this thing smelling? And it's because the handbrake was up the entire time. I ruined your car.
That's actually how I've taught people how to drive stick is, hold the e-brake up and then you just drop it when they're ready to go. That's funny though. Let's see here. No other real questions. Do you have any questions for me? Let's flip the script a little bit.
Yeah, actually, I do. Thanks for offering up the opportunity. So I did a little bit of research on you, and I did a little bit of research on and I was talking with your friend a little bit who introduced us, and so I wanted to get a little bit of context. But I just want to hear it from you. Like, tell me more about two things: the vision, number one, for the group that you have and the group that you work with, and number two, what are your plans? Because I think it's always a good question to ask. So number one, what's your vision for the group of people that you have watching right now? And number two, what are your plans? And it's a very general question, but I think it's important to touch on.
Great questions. The vision that I have for my group is basically, first and foremost, I want to change lives for the better. And I'm already starting to do that. For me, it's worth it to just hear from people on how I've changed their lives for the better. Whether it's, I've gotten messages about, because of what I've learned from you, I was able to fly my wife or my daughter from overseas so that I could see them on Christmas, or, thanks for helping me being able to quit my pizza delivering job. And so I can spend more time with my family because of what you've taught me. And so like being able to help those people on a macro level, and not so much, and not to say that I don't appreciate the smaller group that I have right now, but to be able to affect people's lives on a macro level like that, to me, it would, I want to be able to leave some sort of legacy, and I think that to be able to affect people's lives like that in a positive way, is the ultimate for me. And and it doesn't matter if you don't trade over the counter stocks. And that's not where I want to stop. I want to be able to, whatever you're comfortable trading in or investing in, anything that helps you get an upper hand in life. Because in today's day and age, doing a single income family household or whatever doesn't cut it anymore. And so we have to figure out ways to.
It's a side hustle, man. It's a side hustle.
Exactly. And so for me, it's being able to provide that side hustle, if you will, and not just limit it to one area, but for all areas, for whatever people are comfortable trading. And so grabbing people who are good at this style of trading or that style of trading or cryptocurrency or whatever, and bringing it all into one, unified area, so that people all can just learn and continue to grow, is just what it would do for me. And that's basically, what my vision is for it, and just being able to provide that platform for folks.
And if I can interject here, because I want to know what your plans are, but I can completely resonate with everything that you just said. The mission and vision of what we're doing here at the Bitcoin.pub, at yen.io, our social exchange for cryptocurrency enthusiasts, is to spread the good news of Bitcoin and blockchain to every corner of the globe. That's our mission statement. And I say that a lot during our streams and all that stuff. And for me, the biggest blessing, and we were talking about this before, is to be able to give away everything that I have, all my knowledge, experience, it's, however I can translate that to the audience, because I have been immensely blessed. I have been immensely blessed beyond measure. And let's be intellectually honest. I don't have to work, guys. I don't have to work.
Exactly.
I bought Bitcoin at $1.50, okay? And so even though we've lost 50% of its value, I'm still doing okay. And my startups obviously are okay as well. But for me, giving back, it sounds so cheap when I say it coming out of my mouth and I'm hearing it, through here. But, giving back and helping other people realize their potential and realize that there's amazing things out there that they can do, and unleashing that, unshackling that, and unconstraining that, and removing those obstacles is brings me a lot of joy. It brings me a lot of joy in life. So I completely resonate with not only what you're doing and your vision for it, but I'm excited now. Where you're headed? Where are your plans, brother?
Well, kind of like in the similar fashion of your social media site, like I want to be able to create a platform, social media, where people can come together no matter what style of trading they have, and come to one specific site to be able to either network, because as we already discussed, the power of networking, and not only just network, but maybe discover something that they haven't gotten into before. So say, for example, like I only trade over the counter stocks, but what if I decided that I wanted to get into Bitcoin? I don't have to go anywhere else. I can be right there and
Right.
and talk to somebody on that same platform. And the culture that I plan on building, people and that I've already built, people are so eager to help one another. And there's never like any kind of like bashing or anything like that. And that's one thing that, a lot of these other platforms have right now. It's like, first of all, you got to pay to even talk on it or even post anything on it. And second of all, there's tons of manipulation out there. People that are just trying to pump and dump so that you're just a bag holder forever. StockTwits is terrible for that. And so is Investors Hub. And so I want to be able to create a network. And that's what I'm in the process of doing now. That does away with all of that filters out the negativity and just brings nothing but positive energy in, and provides a space where there's nothing but just people helping people.
I see. I can dig that. One thing that I talk with our crypto community about is, and I use this tagline a lot, is that we're just a bunch of people who show up and we want to do life together. And I think that's probably what you're espousing to do as well, is just find 100%. A lot of like-minded individuals who just, good, bad, we're here together. So let's do life together. Let's learn together. Let's grow together. Let's improve together. And having that kind of as a principled foundation of your vision, I think it can be a very powerful rallying point that, hey, none of us are perfect. Frankly, there's some people that I hang out with in the crypto world that I don't really like. But you know what? I'm doing life together with them because I benefit from their callousness and critique sometimes. And sometimes their saltiness, but at the same time, I know that they also benefit from things that I'm saying, and vice versa. It's kind of like iron sharpens iron. So, egos aside, I don't mind if you're salty some days. I don't like you on those days, but it's okay. We're doing life. We're doing life together, and as long as we can get past our egos and realize that you're mad at me today, but it's okay. We're gonna move together tomorrow. It's all good.
Yeah, I like that. The culture that I built so far is more of like a family culture, and and I know it sounds kind of cliche and cheesy or whatever, but it's really true, because it's not people like think, oh, I have a family culture, so like everybody gets along and whatever else. I'm like, no, this is a real family. So people argue, people fight, and people and then at the end of the day, they still work it out and they still love each other. But it's not perfect, and sometimes I'm wrong, sometimes they're wrong, but that's the beauty of it, is that everybody still, and at the end of the day, grows together, and we're stronger at coming out of it for it. So I always like to use that analogy of that it actually being a real family and not this family that you see, the Brady Bunch or whatever.
Absolutely, absolutely. I remember the Brady Bunch, man. Don't be hating on Brady Bunch, man.
Brady Bunch, Family Matters, whatever.
That's where I got my worldview of modeling for a family. I don't think it's working out with my 2 kids though just yet.
Yeah, I grew up on TGIF. That was my thing back in the day.
There you go.
Yeah, Step by Step and Boy Meets World. Oh man, I used to watch the heck out of that. But now I'm like dating myself. This is terrible.
It's all good. we're back in the 80s, man. It's all good.
Yeah. Somebody asked, what age did you become a millionaire?
26 years old.
26. That's amazing. I actually 2 weeks ago had a guy. He's 26. He became a millionaire just straight off of sales. He does sales for ADT.
Yep.
And just in 4 months, he earns his entire yearly salary, which blows my mind.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Good.
I was just saying, giving some context to that. So it was easy for me to respond because it's one of those things you never forget, right? 26 years old was when I first sold my first company. So I've had 2 companies acquired, for one for 7 figures and one for 8 figures. As you could probably imagine, my bucket list is to have my next startup, or one of my next startups, be acquired for 9 figures, which is hundreds of millions of dollars, guys.
That would be insane.
That's the hope. And so when 26 years old, became a millionaire. Once all the paperwork, all the legal stuff was signed, the IP handed over, all that stuff. Once the check was cashed and I went to my bank account, I said, "It's there. It's all there, guys." I went to Lamborghini Atlanta and bought a 2006 Lamborghini Gallardo manual. That's the first thing I did. So yeah. So it was a wonderful, wonderful time. It was a lot of work. It took 4.5 years, which is actually relatively short because Facebook's been out for a long time. Twitter's been out for over 10 years now, so they still haven't figured out how to make money.
Isn't that crazy?
Still haven't figured out how to make money.
Yeah.
But 4.5 years of because I'm a scientist, so I measure everything. I was averaging 19.7 hours a day of coding for about 4.5 years to finish that out, and I got paid, I think, exactly what was worth the effort. And so it wasn't easy, getting to that acquisition point at 26, but it was 4 years of sweat, hard work, losing weight. I mean, doing all sorts of crazy stuff to get it done. And it was worth every moment. It was worth every moment. And I think in many ways that was, at least from a tangible worldly perspective, that was for me probably one of the most poignant moments of my life. Not only being able to see that in my bank account and all the hard work made real, but being able to reward myself for the first time. But during the time, by the way, I was living in an 8-foot by 10-foot room rented from my friend for $300 a month, including utilities, internet, and all that stuff. I mean, I was eating, when eating ramen, I was eating ramen every day. I mean, that is how I had to do it. And so it was worth it. It was worth every penny. It was worth every piece of sweat and every piece of anxiety that I had. But when you know that you need to do it. And let's kind of pivot into that idea. And I think one thing I want to leave your listeners with is something that I've kind of formulated over the years. And I don't think it's perfect, but it's worked for me. And I hope it'll be encouraging and somewhat inspiring to your audience here. I have always found, and I kind of introduced this earlier, that sometimes there are things they're good ideas or bad ideas. It don't matter. You just got to do it. Now, that's not a very unrefined, very rough way of looking at the world. But I found a different way that's worked exceptionally well for me, is that find what you love to do. Most people leave it there, but I'm going to go farther. Find what you love to do, and then find a way to make it a service to others. That way, you will always be doing what you love, and you'll be getting paid to do it. And so I have found that my love for things change, like trading OTCs, trading pink slip. I'm going into, car applications or moving to B2B applications or moving to a consultancy. My interests and my loves have changed as I've matured as a human. But as my love and my interests have changed and my passion has been moved to a different segment or a different market or a different idea, the best way to utilize that change or that passion that you have or that love that you have is to find a way to make it a service to others. And that ducktails right into what I'm doing right now, which is I'm building applications for the cryptocurrency community. When I first got into Bitcoin in 2011, that became my sole focus until today and hopefully beyond. And so what I found is that my love for crypto, the tech behind crypto, with my ability to be a developer and develop applications, I found that it's been proven. The proof's in the pudding. I have been able to build 6 applications for the cryptocurrency economy. The Bitcoin.pub, cryptoyum.com, which is our RSS reader. It's the best reader out there for all news crypto. Coinpuffs.com, which is a better aggregator than CoinMarketCap for stocks and crypto picks. The 10 days of Bitcoin.com, which is our introductory on-ramp to cryptocurrency. Like, I've built all these products and they're all free. I build them because I love it and I want to give it away for free. And what I do is you create a service in it. And what's great about this new world economy is that people are willing to voluntarily pay you to support the work that you're doing within your tribe. So you're creating a tribe right now, you're creating a family right now, and there are ways to create monetization through that, through voluntary support. And so we have been able to bootstrap all of our applications, the 6 applications that we've built for the cryptocurrency communities, and they're all free. But our patrons on patreon.com/pub, they support us. And so that's what's so great about this new world economy, is that you can literally do what you love as long as you find a way to make it a service for others, and you will find ways that people are willing to pay you for what you love to do, even if it's not perfect. And so,
isn't that amazing? Isn't it? I mean,
it
that's the world we live in. You know, a lot of people say that, oh, back in the 50s, those were the golden years or whatever, but like, we're still living in it.
These are the best years, guys.
They really are. As much as people like to gripe and complain, they really are. There's always going to be a struggle no matter what area you're in. But this one, I feel like people struggle the least, believe it or not. And people might not want to admit that, but they really don't. So I think, perfect ending to this segment. I really love everything that you were saying as far as, your passion and just turning it into something that you love doing, turning it into a service. And it's just great stuff, man. I can't thank you enough for coming on tonight. People are asking, where can they follow you and stuff like that. So go ahead and plug away.
You can just go to one site. You can go to decentralized.tv. Decentralized.tv. If you go to that website, you can see all our properties. You can see all the products that we've built for free. Cryptoyum.com, coinpuffs.com, 10daysofbitcoin.com. If you want to learn about how to get into Bitcoin, we've created an entire e-learning course for free, and we won't spam you. So go to Decentralized TV, look at the top bar. You'll see all our videos on the bottom, and you can check out all our properties. If you want to get news, check out Cryptoyum. If you want to check out crypto stock picks, check out coinpuffs.com. We got all different products that we've built, and it's all been community funded. And I don't want to forget to say that, because we cannot forget to give thanks and be grateful for the support that we've gotten in bootstrapping all of this. So it's all free.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I really do appreciate it. And guys, that is all we have for you tonight. As always, I will see you before the bell. Thanks for tuning in. If you have not subscribed to my channel, what better time than do it than right now, and smash that like button, because Peter was awesome tonight. So thanks, guys. That is all I got for you. B Smith is out.